and that if you can now relax and leave your bush to grow, I think you should. Hello, I'm Summer Tothill and I regularly run Q&As with my supporters on Instagram on matters relating to gender equality. So what you're about to watch is 1 week's worth of these, and if you would like to get involved with them yourself, just come and follow me on Instagram at Summer Tothill. While you're here, please stick around and subscribe to my channel and check out the rest of the Ask a Feminist playlist. After asking many times how to have domestic equality, partner isn't prioritising. Now, you don't say the gender of your partner, but as I know this generally happens more frequently between men and women, I'm going to assume your partner is a man, but honestly, I'm not sure that it really matters. A partner who doesn't prioritise equalising the load or making the domestic load equitable or making your life easier isn't behaving with love and isn't behaving with partnership. They believe that their time is more valuable than your time and that they are entitled to use their time as they wish, and that you are obliged to use your time to carry out the tasks that assist them in their life. And once you see it that way, it does make you wonder if or why you would still want to be with that partner. Because one thing we do know is that if you have to ask someone many times to consider you, to be nice to you, to alleviate your concerns, your worries, your workload, to do what is only their fair share, if you have to ask them many times, do they even remotely respect you? Because a person who respects you takes those requests seriously and changes. And so often in straight relationships, what it takes for a man to change after being asked and asked and asked is for him to get broken up with. And if you have asked many times and nothing has changed, what is there left? And listen, I know that feminists at the moment are really quick to go to the dump him narrative. And I know that that is a sort of backlash against many, many hundreds of years of women in terrible relationships being told just to suck it up, to work on it, or literally not even having the option to leave. So it's very liberating to be able to just say, dump him, divorce him, dump him. And I realize how frustrating that is when you're in a relationship that you actually want to make work. And of course you want to make it work because you have been having these conversations, you've been making these requests, you've been trying to fix it. And there are creators out there who really try to work on the idea of how you can fix it. And those would be Eve Rodsky of the Fair Play Method. And I think even to an extent that Darn Chat does focus more on a positive, how to make this work in your relationship kind of approach rather than a dump him approach. I personally am more of the dump him approach and what I think of as the Zorn Villeneuve approach to domestic inequality, which is that domestic inequality is a form of abuse. And if your partner steadfastly refuses to pick up their share of the load and to be considerate of your needs in that respect, that is malicious. Malice lies within abusive behavior. And what is there to salvage from a relationship where they are happy to exploit you? This is the case in so many straight relationships. Men believe they are entitled to exploit every last ounce of women's labor, and they are set up structurally and systemically to be able to do so, partly because of the nag paradox, where if you keep asking and asking him to do things, he will characterize you as nagging. But if he doesn't do things and you get mad, he will say, women just need to communicate and they just need to ask. What happened to men being able to anticipate needs? Because women anticipate needs, not because we're biologically more able to, but because we are conditioned to and socially programmed to. Zorn Villeneuve often says we have to understand that men's unwillingness to do domestic labor is deliberate and it will not change. And if you have to ask someone multiple times to help you, they do not intend to, they never will. And why do you want, or why are you going to waste your life putting more effort into a relationship where the person has no intention of helping you or making life easier for you? I know that it's not easy just to say to someone, break up with him. You have your economic concerns, you have your family concerns, you have a lot going on. But I really encourage you to read Zorn Villeneuve's work and also That Darn Chat and Fair Play and I suppose come to your own conclusion on whether you think it is worth trying any further, or if it is worth perhaps seeking your liberation from this indentured servitude in some other way. I'm a feminist, but my boyfriend and I split the bills 50-50. Is that bad? It is not so simple an answer as whether it is bad or whether it is good. It is complicated, which is why I'm so glad that you asked this question. And I'm really happy for the opportunity to talk about the scourge that is the concept of 50-50 economically in relationships between straight men and women. We as millennial women, if you are one, but also if you are Gen Z, we're really fed a lot of rhetoric in the 90s and early 2000s around the concept of being an independent woman with your money. Like if you think about songs like Jennifer Lopez, My Love Don't Cost a Thing, or like Independent Women by Destiny's Child, where the whole point of the song is to say to a man, I don't need your money. Like, I'm not a gold digger. My love isn't based on your economic potential. So it was this thing of women trying to be feminist and independent by declaring our intention to fully support ourselves. But all it really ever came down to was pick-me behavior, because without measures to address the fundamental economic inequalities between men and women, which are not just individual but systemic and structural, all women are doing by saying they're not going to take any man's money or they're always going to be independent financially is shooting themselves in the foot, because using a man's superior economic potential to assist you as a woman is not objectively a bad thing. And until we have economic equality and wealth equality between men and women, then I don't think that women should be left out high and dry to provide completely for themselves if there is a possibility that they could leverage a man's higher earning potential. So on one hand, being an independent woman and going 50-50 is good, because we really, as I always caution, women shouldn't rely on men financially, and if at all possible you should try to avoid a situation where you have been disenfranchised from your career for so long that it would be hard to return to it should you end up in a situation where you cannot rely on a man for money. So things like we need to change childcare and parental leave to stop women from continually ending up in that situation. So that is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about economic independence. It's about setting yourself up for safety as a woman. But what it does not mean is doing everything completely yourself. And what it also doesn't mean is going 50-50 with a man when you earn less than him. So I often have to point out feminism is not about equality, it is about equity. So 50-50 would be equality, but splitting your bills based on a percentage of who earns the most, or worked out according to who has the most asset value, is more equitable. So if he earns 30% more than you, then he should pay 30% more of the bills. I actually used to know a couple who lived together for many years, and she paid 30% of the grocery bill because he was like 2 heads taller than her and very muscly and ate way more food. You've got to remember, as a woman dating a man, if you ever intend to have children, then you will run up against a period, potentially an extended period, where you are having to rely on a man's ability to financially provide for you, and where you are compromising your own career, safety, financial safety, and earnings. So it is never going to be 50-50 as long as you are providing 24/7 unpaid domestic and caregiving labor to a man. And even if you don't have children, if you work slightly less and provide way more domestic labor, if you work slightly more and provide more domestic labor, or if you work the same amount but you get paid less, then your contribution to the relationship is not just about money. It's about the way that as a woman you are required to sacrifice more financially, to provide more economically and domestically, and for him to just sit back, watch his career grow, go 50-50 with someone who isn't earning the same amount as him, and reap all the benefits of being a man in a society. So yeah, I am not down with 50-50 in general. I think men need to learn to acknowledge the inequalities and the inequities in their relationships with women and to redress that accordingly. That is what I do in my relationship. I've talked about this before. When me and my boyfriend go on dates, He pays for probably 75% as much of the dinners, drinks, cocktails as I do, because he earns a lot more than me. And that is because he is a feminist, and that is on men being feminists. Okay, quick question. Do I have to shave my pubic hair since men do it now too? Good God, woman, no. In fact, wouldn't it be hilarious if we got to a point where men actually felt the obligation to police and groom their bodies more than women do? Because for a really long time, it has been the opposite, at least as long as I've been alive. But I'm not sure that there's been any point in history where men have had to dye, pluck, wax, tweeze, inject, fill, alter every single aspect of their appearance just to be considered good enough to go out of the door in the morning. And that includes pubic topiary as well. It's not that I wish grooming-based oppression on men or a beauty industrial complex that women have had to deal with forever, but I do think that if you are ever feeling guilty as a woman about not doing some sort of grooming or beauty ritual that men have suddenly started doing, just remember that it's been completely the other way around for the longest time, and that if you can now relax and leave your bush to grow, I think you should. That's it for this Q&A. Thank you so much for listening. Find me on Instagram at summertothill, that's summer with an O, spelt the same way as you see in this YouTube channel. I can't wait to see you there.